Hey Lodi residents and friends of social media, it's Lieutenant Mobilio here from the Lodi Police Department. First and foremost, on behalf of Chief Donald Scorzetti and Deputy Chief Louis Franco, and all of us here at the Lodi Police Department would like to wish you and your family a happy, healthy, and safe New Year. With that being said, in light of these recent horrific fires in Philadelphia and in New York just recently, we have Borough of Lodi's Fire Marshal with us, Mr. Paul Wanco, and we're going to talk a little bit about, God forbid, a fire in your home, what you should do, maybe some preventions of things that you should do at home, and having plans for you and your family. So let's welcome Mr. Paul Wanco. Hello.
Thank you very much.
How are you? And like I just said, a couple of those horrific fires, one in Philadelphia and then actually the one in New York. So I thought that it would be advantageous to have you come here and speak a little bit about fire prevention and what people at home could do in case of, God forbid, a fire, and what they should do to maybe prevent having fires, such as, and we have them here, is smoke detectors. Probably one of the most important things that every household should have, correct?
Extremely important. My understanding, just from what we're all reading about the fires that you're referring to, I understand that a space heater may have been involved in one.
Right.
Also, possibly a juvenile playing with a lighter.
The one in Philadelphia, I believe.
In Philadelphia. We try to emphasize, actually we have a program that we do every year in all of our public schools. We also do it for the nurseries that we have in town. We also go to Immaculate Conception. We try to talk to all of our younger adults and from right on, from pre-K on, as far as the dangers of fire. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to talk to a pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, the way that you're going to speak to more of an adult type audience. But we do try to make them aware of, we show them what a lighter is, if some of them don't realize. We show them a book of matches, and we also try to impress on them that's not something to be played with.
Right.
2 through 5, second grade to 5th grade, they're more of, let's show them a video, let's show them how fires actually start, and we try to impress with them. Once you get into the middle school, you're dealing with a lot of older children, and we try to do almost what's a scared straight program. We'll actually show them the results of people being burned. With the space heater fire, what people really need to realize is that space heaters, even though they are legal, you need to buy something that is UL approved. And when I say UL approved, that's Underwriters Laboratory approved, which means it has already been tested. A lot of people will take these space heaters, plug them into an extension cord, right, and then plug them into the wall. That's a no-no.
Right. I was going to ask you about extension cords with that. So
the extension cord will heat up, and that will cause a fire. Even the strips, the power strips, you cannot plug into a power strip with that. It has to go directly into the wall. Also, we treat the space heater the exact same way that we're going to treat a furnace in a house. 3 feet circumference around that, no combustible materials, nothing that a heat can catch on fire.
Right.
So even if it's sitting on a rug, we tell the people it can't have it.
Right. So no space heater should technically ever be placed on any kind of a rug, especially a rug like this that's a shag rug, but
Right.
any rug in general.
Any rug, right.
Okay.
It should be either
That's something I
hardwood
didn't
floor,
even know.
or it should be a tile floor. You know,
Never on a rug.
something that's not going to burn, but never on a rug.
Okay. Now, when it comes to space heaters, I'm sure that, I don't want to talk out of turn because I'm really not sure, but the newer ones, if God forbid they tip over or they fall, do they automatically go off?
They do.
Or-
They have a safety device now that, yes, if it does tip over, it'll automatically shut off.
Okay.
A lot of your older ones do not have that.
Right, right.
And that's where we run into the problems. You know, you mentioned about the smoke detectors. I understand that there was also a connection with the space heater fire and smoke detectors, which I believe they found about 6 that were taken down.
That were taken out.
Either the batteries were removed, they weren't operating.
Okay.
And one of the big things that actually fed that fire was when the people left the apartment, they left the door open.
Right, the door, that's the main thing in the one in New York is the big, is
Yes,
with the doors. with
that
those
was,
doors.
that was a big issue.
So, because I really don't know too much about it, and I've been hearing about the doors, what is the significance of the doors being shut?
Well, when you have any type of fire, and people all realize, fire needs oxygen to breathe. That will keep it alive.
Right.
If you leave an apartment and you close that door, you're shutting off all that outside oxygen coming through the hallway that's gonna help feed that fire.
Okay.
That fire is not only going, because if you did see the videos of that fire, that was heavily venting out that window. It was
Yes.
nothing but a ball of fire.
Yeah.
So it was already seeking the oxygen it needed, so it was venting out the window. But now by leaving the door open, now it's gonna start venting out the other way because it needs the oxygen. What happened though was the majority of the fire damage was in that particular room. All the smoke started out into the hallway.
And that's what filtered out into the.
That's what filtered out, and that's what eventually,
Got to the people.
you know,
right.
unfortunately, people perished in that.
Yes, yeah. The other thing I do want to talk to you, we put out a fire extinguisher here, and you had said to me you didn't want to talk too much about the fire because you don't want people actually fighting fires with a fire extinguisher.
Right.
But explain maybe what a fire extinguisher in a home could be utilized for, or how they can utilize a fire extinguisher in a home.
Well, the Division of Fire Safety, quite a few years ago, had come out with now, what we do is we inspect all the businesses in town, but we also inspect non-owner occupied homes. They have it now that to get a CO, when the zoning department will go in and check for COs, and we go in and we do a smoke detector compliance check. We'll go in, we'll make sure that the smoke detectors are there, and now it has to be these, which are, as you can see on the box, 10-year. Right, these are good for
Right.
10 years. You don't have to touch these for 10 years.
Right.
We'll also look for a carbon monoxide detector, and we also look for a fire extinguisher. Now, the biggest argument when this first came out from the fire marshals was, well, you want us to have a fire extinguisher in every non-owner occupied home. But who's going to teach the tenant how to use the fire extinguisher? That's just too time consuming. We try to do it in the schools so they can bring it home, but of course that doesn't always happen. A fire extinguisher basically is to get you out of a fire.
Not to fight the fire.
Fighting the fire, unfortunately, a lot of people do not realize how to use the fire extinguisher. If you have a grease fire, you're cooking something on the top of the stove. And we had one recently where someone got burned in that fire. All you need is a lid. Cover
Right,
the pan. Covering the pan goes back to what we just talked about, fire being fed by oxygen. Once you cover the pan, oxygen is gone. Fire is out. What people do though is they panic, they grab the fire extinguisher and they start spraying that fire. But as you hit the grease bounces up, hits your curtain, now you're having entire kitchen fire.
So your best bet would be, instead of going for the fire extinguisher, to get the lid for the
Absolutely.
for the. I had also heard baking soda. You pour baking soda on a.
Yeah, that doesn't
I mean, will
work
that help?
well.
I mean, instead of going for that, maybe do, and then.
You can, yeah.
Okay. So, before you go grab your fire extinguisher, if you have God forbid you have a grease fire in your home, get the lid for the pan, and that should hopefully extinguish the fire with it, because you're taking the oxygen away from it,
Right.
being in the fire.
Yep.
I do want to talk a little bit more about smoke detectors. Now, this smoke detector here is 10 years. You don't have, there's no battery. The battery is self-contained on these,
Yes.
correct? So if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's or any hardware store and you can find these smoke detectors, they usually come with either, I believe, 7-year or 10-year, or even 15-year, I believe, lifespan. And there's no battery. The battery is self-contained, so you don't have to change the battery. Now, with me talking about that, a lot of times when the police officers come to go to someone's home, or I'm sure Mr. Wanco could testify to this, you'll hear that smoke alarm beeping. In the middle of the night, it's beeping. And I used to go to people, and I used to tell them, I says, you know, your smoke alarm is beeping. Oh yeah, my landlord has to change the battery. Do not wait for your landlord to come and change the battery in your smoke alarm. That could take forever, because once that beep goes away, that means that smoke alarm is gone, it's done. If you can't afford a battery, go to the dollar store, pick up a battery for $1. Change the battery in your smoke alarm, all right? Like I said, these here are self-contained batteries. There's no battery. But once you start hearing it chirp, that means you have to change it, okay? So go out, get yourself either new batteries for your smoke alarm, or go out and get brand new smoke alarms that have the 10-year or 7-year warranty. Batteries are all self-contained in here. Paul, is there any other way that someone can maybe get?
With something like that, just add to what you were saying, people have to realize too, with the 10-year, this particular one, it comes with a plate that you mount to the ceiling.
Right.
And then the detector, a lot of people, what they're doing is they're taking it out of the box, pushing a button and saying, this don't work.
Right.
It don't work.
Right.
The only way that detector will work is when you take it, engage it, and lock it into the frame that you're putting on the ceiling.
And that triggers the battery.
That triggers your battery.
Right.
That way your battery doesn't go dead as it sits in the box of waiting to be bought.
Right.
Very big, I mean, we tell the kids all the time, this is the most important thing you'll have in your house.
Right.
To save your life, is that smoke detector.
Right.
A lot of what I find is that people feel, it's a fire, we're not gonna worry about that. And that's where you get your panic.
Right. Absolutely.
What people need to realize is, just like I said to the kids in the middle school one day when we were in giving our seminar, I said, how many of you believe that a fire cannot start in your house? And I got quite a few hands. So I said, all right, tell me why it can't start in your house. He said, because we're careful. You know, we watch what we do. I said, okay, that's all well and good. He said, but let me ask you a question. You have gas going into your house? Do you have electric that helps you turn your lights on and off? And yeah, we do. You don't think that could start a fire? You can be as careful as you want, but you don't know what's going on inside those walls. So I try to impress on them, realize that there can be one, and we need to talk to our parents about what do we do if there is one.
Right. So that was my next thing, is that parents out there, you should have a plan. God forbid a fire, have
Absolutely.
a plan, escape plan, whatever, a meeting place. God forbid a fire in your house, have some sort of a plan to get out of the house safely. Now, me, I used to tell my son we have a second story bedroom. So I said, God forbid there's ever a fire. I said, we have a roof. I said, jump out on the roof and then jump down off the whatever it is to get out of the house safely is what you have to do. We always kind of had, and then where we were going to meet. So people out there are families, and you live in a home with your children. Very, very important to have some sort of a plan. God forbid a fire.
Absolutely. Another thing about that, you mentioned second story. Right after my son bought his house, my two grandchildren are on the second floor. One stairway to go up, that's it. I said to him, you know what? What happens if a fire starts in that stairwell? You have two kids trapped on the second floor.
Right.
My suggestion was, you know what? Get one of those ladders that clips onto the windowsill. You roll it out the window, and there you go. You climb down.
Right.
That would be my suggestion to anyone who is in that situation, where you're on a second floor, and some of them don't have that easy roof to
Right.
jump onto.
Right.
That you're going to go all the way down. Let's. You know what? That investment could change your whole life.
Right. And where can you go about getting one of those?
Any kind of hardware store. Yeah,
Yeah.
you usually be able to buy them at the hardware store.
So again, if you're a homeowner, you purchase one of these ladders to get out of your house. Now, if you're a renter, again, don't rely on your landlord to go about. It's not a law for them to have these ladders in the home, is it?
No.
So
No, it's not.
if you're a renter and you want to do fire precaution, go out, get yourself one of these roll-out ladders that you would put onto the ledge, and then the ladder rolls down and you can safely climb out of the house that way. And I think that's most important is the smoke alarms and,
Yes.
and having
Yes.
a fire plan in your house to get out of your home safely.
Testing the alarms.
Right, don't forget
all
to
it
test,
is
right.
push a button.
Right.
That's all it is,
Right.
to make sure. What I try to tell people to do too is at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, one of the parents go in the hallway or wherever your alarm is, push the button so it goes off. See if your children even hear
Right.
the smoke detector, because a lot of times they won't hear it, they'll sleep through it. You'll think they're getting up and going outside or whatever the case, and they're not. So you might want to see are the decibels, which are mandated now, a certain amount of decibel, that can they hear that or not?
Something I didn't think about. You're right. Right.
So now, with the new 10-year, any home that we inspect, which is not owner occupied, that's mandated now. They have to take down all the battery operated ones that they have and install a 10-year. So that's mandated by the state now.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Paul, you can think of?
Other than just trying to get the message out. You know, unfortunately, our program took a hit with this pandemic we have going. We haven't been able to get into the schools for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think this was a great opportunity. I can't thank you enough. So we can at least get the word out somewhat. To just remind people that we're still around.
Yes.
We're still here. And we even have lawn signs now, because we kind of followed what the police did, for fire prevention. You know, and hopefully people will see the signs are free to whoever wants them. All they have to do is call our office.
Okay, I was just going to ask you that. What's the phone number for them to, if somebody wants to call you and get more information, how do they go about contacting?
All right, they could call, our main number is 973-859-7428. That'll put you right directly in contact with my secretary, Debbie. Debbie will direct you to wherever she feels that your question is going to go. It'll either be to myself or be to Captain Garino, and we'll be there for you. I mean, it's the dedication to the people of our community. That's what we're all about. You know, I don't like fire inspections that a fire inspector will walk in a home, walk around, write down everything that's wrong, here you go, and walk out. I try to impress on my inspectors we need to give people knowledge. Don't just write something down and say, this is wrong. Explain why it's wrong. Educate the people. That's something that hasn't been going on in fire prevention for quite a few years. So I tried to change this ever since back 19 years ago when I took over, but it seems like we are making progress. We don't have as many of the big fires we used to have, so we are cutting down. We have the fire department mad at us because they don't get to go out and fight fires as much as they used to. So, that's what it's all about, though. It's all about caring about the people in our community. That's what it is.
Okay. All right. So again, make sure you check your smoke alarms in the house. Make sure they're operative. Have a plan. God forbid a fire in your home. How to get out of that home safely. Again, thank you very much, Mr. Wanco, for coming in. I appreciate you coming in. All right, Lodi. Again, stay safe. Stay Lodi strong. God bless you all, and we'll see you soon.